brand like Starbucks is everywhere now. And even though they're on every street corner, when they first started out, their mission was very simple: to make coffee more human and warm, to change the experience. Now they're everywhere, selling all kinds of different things, yet the core value that defines them is still the same. And you can walk into a Starbucks, and it's a very different brand experience than walking into a Dunkin' Donuts. One's not necessarily better than the other, but the values that define them are very different, and those very values allow Starbucks to charge you $5 for a coffee.
Yeah, I think that radio could step up its game in understanding that it's an emotional driver. It's not just a background noise. When you control the music in a room, you control the mood of the room. And we do emotionally connect with our listeners. At least our music does, and some of our personalities do. But a lot of our promotions and imaging and marketing fails on that level, where we just recite to them slogans and positioning statements. And we expect that if we say it 15 times an hour, that it'll be true. We have to understand the emotions behind why people choose our radio stations. What hot buttons do we press? And then reflect that in our on-air content, whether it's jocks or imaging or promotions and marketing externally. Make sure that we really get to the emotional heart of it.
You need to remember that in business, some people won't like us. In radio, heck, a 10 share will make you number one in almost any market. A 10 share means that mathematically 90% of the audience can hate you to the point of never, ever, ever listening to you at all, as long as 10% listens to nothing but your station. Number one with 90% of the audience hating you. It's okay to be unliked. In fact, the opposite of being loved isn't being hated. The opposite of being loved is indifference. If they are indifferent about you, you've lost. So don't be afraid to stand out. Rockstar brands are different and not necessarily just better.
You know, I think that we want to do well. I think we're well-intentioned, we're smart people, but we are also an industry that traditionally has done a lot of following. So we see one thing work and we all do that thing. And we come up with one phrase and we all use it. So I like to think that we're capable of a lot more than we're currently doing. We have the creativity, we have the drive, and we certainly have the financial need to get better at that and connect with people emotionally and go beyond just a little box that has traditionally been defined as ours.
Be different. Don't be better. You will likely fail at beating your competitor if your mission is to be better than that. You've got to be really good, but more than being better, you need to be different and provide your listeners, your fans, with a meaningful point of differentiation. Take, for example, this group of guys in the early 70s, Wicked Lester, New York City. Couldn't buy a hit. They were about to break up and they decided to give it one more shot. So they changed their look, they changed their name, and they started blowing stuff up. 2 years later, Kiss is on a world tour. 2 years went by between the first Wicked Lester about to break up and the second incarnation is Kiss about to conquer the world. In 2 years, did they go from being terrible musicians to the world's greatest musicians? Of course not. Nobody gets that good that fast. I would put out there that in their current incarnation as Wicked Lester, they were mediocre musicians. And as Kiss, they remain to this day mediocre musicians. But they're different. They showed the world something it had never seen before and forced the world to pay attention.
We need to take more risks and be more unafraid to fail now and then. Failure is just an essential, bump on the road to success. And in radio, we're pretty gun shy about taking risks these days. I think if we took more risks, more calculated, smart risks, we'd all be better off. And also the idea about differentiating ourselves and going beyond just being another country station or another rock station, and really finding a meaningful point of differentiation. Understanding that the listener's view of us is very different from our view of us, and what we see as differences are probably pretty subtle. We need to really differentiate in big, bold ways.
Another application of the idea of being different versus better. On the count of three, we'll answer this question. Name the most profitable bobsledding team in history. 1, 2, 3. Jamaica. Nobody said Austria, or Germany, or America, or Canada, or any nation that actually wins bobsled races. We love the Jamaican bobsledders not because they've ever won, because anybody know how many races they've won? Zero. Ever? I think they've probably lost training runs against themselves. It doesn't matter how bad they are. They're good enough to compete at the Olympics, and we had never seen Jamaicans in bobsleds. It became a great story. We noticed them. We don't notice Austrians doing this because this is what we expect them to do.